What up? It's Jungle Jones with you today to share my journey on how I hit diamond for the first time. Hopefully, some of the things that I've experienced can help you in your own journey. In an effort to make my tips more palatable, I've broken them down into 3 categories: getting fed, having a champ pool plan, and practicing what we'll call the Camel Theory. Just for reference, I played League of Legends for the very first time 3 years ago, and my previous gaming background was crafting with the boys and playing a little bit of COD. I work a full-time job in construction, I'm married and have a dog, so that should give you an idea of my general workload and the amount of time that I've put into League. If you want, you can look up my OPGG and then roast me in the comments, because let's be honest, that's the only reason we look up anyone's OPGG. So let's talk about our first topic, champ pools. When I first started playing the game, the first real champion that I played was Lilia. I played like 100 games of her, and that was about how long it took to realize that running around as an incredibly squishy deer lady was not the answer for me to climb to the peaks of the League Mountain. The move speed that she gave me only made it that much easier to run down 20 plus deaths a game. I swapped out Bambi for Evelyn because I kept hearing Nice tell me that I needed a good carry champ. Also, I found Evelyn incredibly difficult and annoying to play against, which, in my opinion, is a great reason to play a champion. Obviously, it was also important for me to connect with their playstyle and have fun playing them, because I learned that you have to play a lot of a champion to get anywhere with them. By committing to Evelyn, I started to see a bunch of progress. I kept reaching new peaks, and in a year and a half, I had made it to Emerald. This was where I started to experience serious pain and frustration in my ranked journey. Started to realize that there were large gaps in my knowledge of the game because I was only seeing it through the lens of Evelyn and her playstyle. I was glad that I had one-tricked the champion because it had allowed me to play in high-skill lobbies where I could learn from better players than myself. But I knew that in order to get beyond my plateau of Emerald 4, I needed to learn another champion. Thus began my Viego journey. This was brutal. Probably 500 plus games at a 40% win rate. It was not easy or pretty, but it was fun. And that gave me the ability to endure the losses and keep learning. Once I had learned Viego, it helped my champ pool out immensely because I now had an AD pick for when all of my teammates were playing AP, and Evelyn is obviously not great when the enemy can just build some magic resist items and you no longer can assassinate people. It feels terrible. So I no longer had to deal with that. And because I learned how to play Viego, who's a fighter and who does not rely on being invisible 99% of the time, I was able to start to play Lilia again and add her back into my champ pool. And Lilia is a great champ that I think anyone should add into their pool, only for specific situations. She is so strong into tanks if the enemy picks 3 tanks, or if the enemy jungler is Sejuani. It's just such an easy free win. I definitely recommend trying it out. So I learned in a nutshell that the best way for me to climb was having a ton of experience on only 2 champions. This helped me avoid the common pitfall of playing so many champions that you really don't know how they interact with other champions, and you definitely don't have any muscle memory for being able to execute in tough situations. On to the second idea that helped me get to diamond: getting fed. I think that League of Legends is a snowball game, and in order to win the majority of your games, you have to learn how to snowball. The age-old advice is just get 10 CS per minute. I actually think this is terrible advice. I have never gotten 10 CS, or very rarely, on Evelyn or Viego, or even Lilia for that matter. I do think, however, we should be asking questions like, how do I hit level 6 before the enemy jungler? When should I be ganking instead of farming? Why did I just drop my bounty? How is the enemy jungler a level up on me? What helped me the most was reviewing my gameplay with all of these questions in mind. Once I got better at knowing how to get fed, I committed to playing to get myself strong rather than coin flipping objectives, taking crazy fights because I felt like the game was getting out of control, or just giving up on difficult feeling games. After all, League is a fighting game at the end of the day, and getting fed is the best way to win fights. This brings me to my final and probably most important point, the Camel Theory. The Camel Theory is probably more of an analogy than a theory. It's used to determine whether you are mentally ready to queue up for another game or not. Let's be honest, we've all been up till 3 a.m. losing 20 games in a row, and it's not pretty. It turns out that avoiding those massive loss streaks can actually help you climb dramatically. Seriously, think about how detrimental losing one game is. If you lose one game, you have to win the next 2 games after that in order to get to where you would have been if you had won that game. I personally hate rules, so I didn't want to make a rule like I can only play 7 games a day or only play at 5 in the morning. I can't play late at night or anything like that. So that's where the Camel Theory comes into play. Basically, it has 2 parts. The first part being, if your camel has 1 straw left before its back breaks, you shouldn't play another game. And this is kind of based off that, the straw that broke the camel's back idea. If your camel has a heavy burden on it, then something really small can set it off. Basically, if I have already had a very, very stressful day, I got yelled at work, blah, 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 my camel is fairly burdened. It's likely that something small will offset me and I'll become upset and unfocused quickly and easily. This also can happen just from playing games. It doesn't have to be something in your daily life. It can be you had one game that was incredibly tilting, your teammates sucked butt, whatever, and you're just really upset. You know the smallest thing is going to throw you off. Admitting to myself that I was in that headspace was really difficult to do because I think it's my natural nature to be like, man up and just do what you have to do and whatever. But with practice, I found that I could recognize when I was in a place where I could easily become aggravated. That's the last straw part of the Camel Theory. The second part of the Camel Theory, and I'll admit I am reaching with this analogy, but it makes sense to me. Camels live in the desert. In the desert, you might have a mirage, which is where you have like lack of water, and then I guess you start seeing things. Doesn't refer to smoking a doobie, but I'm sure it's something similar to that. But basically, it's this idea that my brain is foggy and I'm not going to be able to track effectively and be paying attention to everything that's happening in the map, be watching my teammates, seeing who's strong, who's not, assessing win cons, doing all the things that I know that I have to do in order to play better than the people at whatever rank that I'm at. Maybe I need to take a walk, take a nap, eat some food before I can play again. Using these 2 methods, I found that I stopped rage queuing and actually started climbing, and it was great. One more thing in this section I would add to help you have a good mental state before you decide to queue up. Just ask yourself, does playing a hard game sound fun right now? And by hard game, I refer to the games that we all have where the bot lane goes 0-20, the top laner goes AFK, whatever it is. If you are ready for that to possibly happen and you think that still sounds like, hey, I'd queue up for that and I'm going to try my best, play my heart out, then you are ready to queue. I won so many more of my games just by asking myself that question. It really helps me have a stoic mindset. I have found the League grind to be incredibly fulfilling and difficult. It really filled that empty competitive sport spot that was left when I graduated high school, and I just have a lot of passion for it. So If you feel the same and you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below, and I'll do anything that I can to help you on your rank journey. And also, please consider subscribing to my channel where I'll be making more content like this. Thanks.